So what we're going to do today is make a couple of cane poles. I've went out and cut some cane here. I've got two pieces that are quite a bit longer than the finished pole is going to be. You could use bamboo or river cane depending on what is in your environment for this process. If you don't have cane or bamboo, you could also use long willow shoots or ash. Things like that were also traditional materials for making rods, especially in the 18th and 19th century. But bamboo and cane were the prized material to be used for that purpose. So the first step in our process is to remove all of the limbs, or de-limb. And at each one of these nodes that grow in the bamboo and cane, you'll have shoots coming off of those. We need to trim all of those off. Now you can see that as I'm limbing this piece of cane, I'm limbing up the tree, not down the tree. The reason for that is I don't want to split the bamboo. So where the growth comes out of the node, I want to cut up toward that to shave it off and not possibly split down into the node. I can sand this off later, grind it down with stone, whatever the case may be. I'm just trying to get rid of the branches to begin with, or the shoots to begin with. Now once we get down to the end of our rod, and we get to the last forked Y at the end, we just cut that off with our knife or trim it off with our axe. And at that point we need to look at the backbone of the rod and decide if we want to leave that whole tip on there, or do we want to cut a couple sections off here between the nodes and make it a little bit shorter and give us a little bit heavier or stiffer backbone, depending on what we're going to use the rod for. If I'm going to use this rod for panfish or trout, I want that nice flexible backbone in the tip. What I'll generally do is I will cut the rod a little bit long to begin with, go ahead and straighten the rod, and then wait till it dries to see what the backbone's actually like before I cut anything final off the tip. Okay, so the next step in the puzzle is, how do we straighten out our rod? Well, to straighten our rod out, we need to dry it in a hanging upright position with a heavy weight on the bottom of the rod or the tip of the rod. So I've taken a roll of cordage and I've thrown it up into an oak tree here, as high as I could get it into a fork, and I'm going to use this end of the cordage to hoist the rod, and then we'll hang a weight from the other end. So now all we need is a fairly heavy log, branch, rock, something like that. This one probably weighs 10 or 12 pounds. We got to get on the tip of this rod, the very tip, with another type slip knot. And it's very important that we left that node on there for that reason, because we want to pull straight down on that last node without that slipping off. And then we're going to wrap it around our log here. That's going to become a fulcruming device. Basically, I'm going to wrap it in the middle and not the end. I thought about wrapping on the end, but the better bet is going to be to wrap the middle, like this. Just like that. And that's going to pull down on that rod to make it end up straight in the end. So we want the full weight of that log to hang on that rod until it dries, just like this. So we'll make sure we get that weight off the ground. We're fairly centered. And then we'll tie it off, just in an overhand knot here, like this, that we can pull out. I'm actually going to set that on that other log just so I know its full hanging weight is on that rod. And then now we're just going to let it sit here and dry naturally.